Well, happy New Year 2024 to everybody out there from me, Scott Moore, at the SMC Journal podcast. This is the podcast where, as you know, we talk about all things software engineering, testing, tuning, observability, security, AI, and much, much more. Thank you for joining me on this fresh new year. So I want to get started because I know everybody's still sort of in holiday mood. This is only January the 2nd, and you're still sitting at home playing with all the toys that you've gotten over Christmas. Some of you have cars as toys, some of you have boats, some of you have new computers and new phones. Me, I am still just sitting here in the podcasting studio trying to service you with the best information about technology that I can possibly do. And because we have sponsors of this show, they make it possible for you to view all this stuff. So before we get into our topic today, I want to introduce you, if you haven't seen them, our wonderful sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by Saltworks Security. For almost 10 years, Saltworks has delivered world-class application security services and products designed to help enterprises secure their applications from policy to production in an ever-changing security landscape. They're the makers of SaltMiner, an application security management platform designed by security professionals for security professionals. SaltMiner aggregates and normalizes the issues found by many different solutions and enriches that data with business context. SaltMiner gives team members from the C-suite, security, and development teams the ability to manage their application security program through customizable views. The Saltworks SaltMiner Community Edition is a free penetration testing management and delivery application. It provides teams with custom reporting for potentially thousands of end users, red team support, and the ability to manage new and retesting of engagements. SaltMiner Community Edition also allows teams to enforce both testing methodologies and custom vulnerability databases for consistency in engagement delivery. Check them out today at saltworks.io. This podcast is sponsored by Bryte Payment Solutions. They provide merchant services for a wide variety of credit card companies. They take most major credit cards at the lowest rates and fees possible, and they can help your business generate higher revenue through a variety of payment solutions they have, including their own point of sale equipment and custom software. If you take credit cards for your business, you should contact them and see how they can help you. Go to brighteps.com and tell them Scott Moore from the SMC Journal sent you. Do you need unbreakable network connectivity? West Networks can help. They're a leading provider of peplink-based SD-WAN solutions, and they can help you achieve unbreakable connectivity by utilizing Peplink's SpeedFusion bandwidth bonding technology. Since 2012, West Networks has been assisting those in the mobile health services space by providing communities with access to life-saving technology. They also work with mobile command field units like first responders and news agencies, delivering faster and reliable access to mission-critical information all the time. Whether you're an IT professional who needs to work from anywhere or a full-time vacationing traveler in the RV community, West Networks can help you stay connected all the time from anywhere. Large enterprises can save up to 83% off cost while expanding communications and reliability beyond a single carrier with West Network's Peplink-based SD-WAN solutions. They can help you replace expensive MPLS connections with SpeedFusion's site-to-site unbreakable VPN technology. So no matter what your needs are, West Networks can help you achieve unbreakable connectivity. Contact them today to learn more. Okay, let's get to today's show. We are going to be talking about streaming analytics with a security SIEM, SIEM. Those of you who are familiar will already know about several of the major platforms. We're going to talk about one you may not have heard of. And actually, they tie in with one of the sponsors that you just saw the ad for, West Networks. They actually integrate with West Networks, and we're going to explain all that during this show. So I want to introduce you to a company called Fluency Security, and I'm going to bring up their webpage here right now. I met Chris Jordan at the West Networks Peplink Tech Summit last year. He's actually integrated some metrics within his SIEM that pull from these Peplink devices that I and others are using for unbreakable internet connectivity. And it's based upon real-time analytics versus something like a database-based or data lake-based platform. And that's why they're just a little bit different. And there's a whole product tour on their site, fluencysecurity.com. And it's an observability platform around security, but it also has like real-time alerting and everything for you. As I introduce you to him today, he will explain the difference between the way his real-time streaming analytics works versus some of the other SEIM products that you have. So I want to show you that now. Hey, Chris, welcome to the SMC Journal Podcast Special Edition at the Tech Summit. It's good to have you on. I'd like for you to introduce yourself and talk about your company, Fluency, and how you intersect with PepLink while you're at this conference.
Okay, I'm Chris Jordan. I'm the CEO of Fluency. We've been around for 10 years. Before Fluency, I was the VP for Threat Intelligence at McAfee. I'd sold a company to McAfee. I've been in security since '92. We have a small company, and we've been working with PepLink for like 6-7 years, especially with West Network. And we're really excited for the summit. I think this is a great opportunity to look at PepLink as a business tool, and it's been excellent.
How would you describe Fluency as a product?
So Fluency is a security information event management system. So it's a long bunch of words. Really what it means is we collect or listen to all the devices, whether they're endpoint, network, or even web services. We pull that data together, we fuse it, and we analyze it to highlight what are issues in the network. Not just networking issues, but security threats. And then we aim to respond, clean up those mistakes or issues. Now, a lot of products, they can stand by themselves. So what a SIEM's real job is cross-platform. It's to compare what's occurring flow-wise on a firewall versus what's on a system versus what's in the cloud, right? All these tools, except for the cloud, can really handle themselves.
Okay, so how would we use Fluency with a PepLink device?
So PepLinks, for a long time, have been talking to Fluency. We worked with PepLink to get the NetFlow data out of PepLink and into the SIEM, which was us. Mm-hmm. So we did that some years ago. And we've been working with Peter to do things we talked about adaptive just a moment ago. So we can take this data and we can talk bidirectionally. So we can actually talk back to PepLink too. Now, lately, we're coming out with the Fluency platform, which is agnostic piping. What does it mean, agnostic piping? It means that we can set up a bidirectional communicational mesh so we can talk to PepLink, get data from it, and then say, hey, that's interesting, and then talk back to PepLink, right? We would also give the data to other products so we can store it long-term or short-term to save money. It's a fully integrated conversation, and we can talk to all the APIs, and then we can expose those APIs to management systems that can work with other products.
Let's talk a little bit about this use case about being adaptive, right? There was, I think Peter, we were in training and Peter was talking about an adaptive behavioral system that you've developed, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about what that means.
So we do, for one of our DoD customers, we do this nonstop. We use it for DDoS prevention. But in general, we have algorithms that are analytical. And so we can have a huge conversation about security. One of the things security is a fault. And so what we're looking for is an anomaly, and we say, hey, this is an anomaly that we can address. So in the case before, we were saying, we know that there's a virus on this machine. This is an anomaly. And remember, I told you SIEM is cross-platform. Mm-hmm. So I could quarantine that machine, but that machine's still on the network. Let's say I failed to quarantine, which does happen with the antivirus products. So now what I can do is I can send a signal to PepLink, and I can say, this address and this MAC address in particular, so it's not just the IP, but the MAC on this system, I need to block this. So I can put it on a completely different network that's been quarantined. So now I've shoved it off my main network and I give it as a list to the firewall rule inside of PepLink. And now it winds up in a quarantine network. That means that an administrator can still log into it. They can still help the system. They can download patches. But what it's not on the same network that all my users are on and all my servers are on. So that's really what adaptive's about. Adaptive is say, I have a problem here, and I send a signal without even a human being involved, saying push it over here until I can get to it.
Right, safeguard it, so to speak, yeah.
But I still need access. Okay. So a lot of people, when they think quarantine, they think I'm going to cut it off. I mean, I could go to Sentinel-1 and say, turn this machine off, but more importantly, I want it away from all my other machines. think about it, like I hate to say it with the pandemic, it's infected. I don't
Right.
want it to hang around the healthy machines. So
Correct.
pull it off, put it on a different network.
Okay, so let's talk about the difference between Fluency as a SIEM versus some of the other ones that are well known out there, like Datadog and Dynatrace have come out with SIEMs. They're using like data warehouses and data lake houses now and all of that. You've got a little bit different approach to this, right? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so two things that make it to us different. The first one is when you take a look at our system, I'm not trying to display a bunch of charts, right? So traditionally SIMs are database backends. And that's a mistake. We're not trying to just store things in and search it using SQL queries. I mean, SQL has been around since 1972. It's a very limited way of communicating with databases or data stores. So what we really want to do is take a look at it as it comes in. And so we maintain a state position of every data. Like you have a stateful firewall, why don't you have stateful searches? Well, we do. So as the data comes in, we can maintain a state over every entity. And then we can say, oh, this state is insecure. We want to make an announcement on it. And so we can make an announcement, actually collect multiple announcements and saying this combination of announcements, I need to do something about. So the big difference between us and everybody else is twofold. One, we'll give you a list of what actually needs to be done. Everybody else would just give you a chart and then you have to figure out what the problem is. We don't. We say, this is a problem. This is a notable event. And you don't have to program that notable event. We'll tell you. Then the other difference is that we're doing this on the fly. Well, we have one sales guy who likes to say it's like the Ring doorbell, right? When it happens, I tell you right away. Strangely, almost even the antivirus products are searching every 5 to 10 minutes. So we're getting alerts from our EDRs, which are our endpoints, and we're giving them to our customers a good 9 minutes before some of the antivirus products are even alerting. So they're getting messages from us first. And the reason is because we're real time. We're streaming it.
Just way more proactive.
More proactive in memory, right? You think about it, if you want to count how many people in this room, this is the difference between streaming and database. It's a very good example. If I was to count how many people in this room, when the room was empty, if I was to count and just say, hey, somebody came in, somebody left, I can increment and decrement. And every time I know exactly how many people in this room. So you said, I don't want more than 50 people. I could say, hey, that's the 50th person, no more in. Now with databases, you don't do that. With database, you shut the door every 5-10 minutes. Then you count everybody in the room, and then you open the door back up. And that causes two issues. One issue is you lose opening the door and closing the door, you lose the ability to write, right? Because you have to search. Okay, the other issue is that what happens if 5 or 6 people walk in together? Now you have 54 or 55 people. Well, then you missed when you hit 50, right? You're not alerting right away. You're alerting every 5-10 minutes.
Right.
And that's the huge issue between the two techniques. This is more proactive, it's more exact. And the funny thing is, you think about viruses. Viruses aren't slow. This is computers in milliseconds. You're sitting around waiting 5 to 10 minutes to even 24 hours for some of these alerts. Think of the damage that's done.
Sure. So let's talk about the data and the amount of data that you're grabbing, because that's a big issue right now. Of all this data that observability and SIEM platforms are gathering could cost a lot of money. How do you deal with the cost of gathering and keeping, storing, and dealing with it?
Well, so there's 3 ways in which you spend money. The first one is that all the data comes in and where you store it. The second one is actually the processing of that data. And the third is the searching. And I just told you, we threw away searching. The only time you need searching is when you're investigating. The processing of the data, turns out that by doing it real time, you use less processors. So a good example is we're running 200 to 300 models or signatures or searches, you could say, watches at a time, when our competitors go into 200 to 300. That's the most they can do with their processing power, right? So there you have to actually buy more processors, which cost more money, right? So that's one area. The other one is I talked about agnostic piping. So we have Fluency platform. So I can say, you know what? I don't need this data right now. I can route it and send it to something that's cold storage, or maybe I never need it. I can just throw it away. And so I can reduce the amount of data on where the data is going, and that reduces the overall cost. So there's, like I said, there's 3 ways in which we reduce cost. One is I lower the need to search at all, right? 2, I lower the processing of the data coming in. And then finally, 3 is I can determine where that data is going to reduce the overall COG cost of it being stored.
Got it. So if somebody sees this and go, hey, that's something I might be interested in, how can they find out more information?
Well, you can go to fluencysecurity.com, right? Obviously, if you're working with PepLink, Everybody in this conference knows who we are, and you can work with your PepLink reseller or your PepLink service people and reach out together.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Appreciate it.
Take care. So you can run CrowdStrike, run an infection, and you'll get an alert 9 to 10 minutes later that that machine had an infection. Fluency will tell you in the next 30 seconds. And the reason is because it was sent a signal that says I'm infected, but actually there's a database that it goes into first, like a Cassandra database, and then they search that database every 10 to 15 minutes. So you'll get an alert 10 to 15 minutes later. So if you want to do automated response, you actually can't use CrowdStrike's own alerting system. Nor can you use SentinelOne's or anything. They all do the same thing. They all store it in their database and search it later. So in this case here, we see the signal coming to the or from the system, and we automatically respond at that time. And when we first did this with you, what we did was we quarantined it. We had a file. We just said, hey, we're just going to append this IP address to this block list. Now I guess we're a little bit smarter. So I think that now what we're looking at doing is saying let's divide your network into 3 pieces: your guest network, your user network, and we're going to call it the quarantine network. And instead of blocking the system, what we want to do is we want to grab that system and we want to put it into the quarantine network. Now, why? It's because, think about it, you guys talk about eSIMs. You're talking about these devices that you can't physically get to. It's the same thing. Sometimes the machine, you can't get to it. So what we want to do is we want to put the machine in a quarantine network that you still can get to remotely, but it can't touch your users and it can't touch your guests. Then you can fix it. And the only thing you want your firewall to allow it to do is to download patches for your admin to touch it, right? So you're going to have a very strict outgoing rule that you're not going to allow anything out, right? And that's what you're going to basically is a quarantine network. So that's the basic 3. There is a 4th network that you want, and that's what we call your shadow network. And that's where your admins live. So a lot of times when you have IoT devices, you're going to want a 4th network that connects directly to the admin ports, and that's it. And so only the people running your network can actually touch these IoT devices from their admin port, right? So you limit service on one NIC and then administration on another NIC. And that prevents basically a lot of exploitation against lateral movement against your infrastructure.
So for today's show, that's really what I wanted to do, is introduce you to Fluency Security and Chris Jordan and what they're doing over there. And in the future, I'm going to hopefully have Chris on the show again for an interview, and we'll have a demo of the product as well. If you can't wait till then, just go to the link fluencysecurity.com. Click on free trial or check a demo out there. Look more on the website. You can see more information there. What do you think about this type of SEIM? And is this something that you think is a game changer? I'd like to hear what you think. You can contact me through most social media platforms. There is a scan of a QR code that you can do that will take you to the bio of my links and get in touch with me several different ways. You can also send me an email at heyscott@smcjournal.com. Be great if you gave me a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. That is always welcome. It lets me know that I'm doing something right. For today's episode of the SMC Journal, this is Scott Moore saying thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time, and Happy New Year.